You know, it's kind of a strange thing, right? Like, you get curious about your family tree, maybe you want to learn a little bit about your health, so you send off for one of those DNA kits.
Yep.
And then bam! See, the company you trusted with that super personal information might be going belly up. Makes you think twice, huh?
Oh, absolutely. This whole 23andMe bankruptcy thing,
Yeah.
filing for Chapter 11, making people nervous. Not just folks who already use 23andMe either. Anyone who's ever thought about doing a DNA test is probably watching this closely. Because when you're talking about something as sensitive as your genetic code, well, who's got their hands on that data really matters.
Totally. And we're not talking about a small handful of people here. Over 15 million.
Wow.
15 million people sent 23andMe their DNA, their saliva, all sorts of family and health history. It's a massive amount of really private stuff.
It is huge. And that's exactly why we're doing this deep dive. We want to lay out what's going on with 23andMe, what it means for you right now if you're one of their customers, and then, zoom out a little. What are the bigger issues when we trust companies with our DNA?
All right, well, let's start with the elephant in the room, the bankruptcy. 23andMe, we knew they weren't exactly thriving, but this Chapter 11 and the whole hunting for a buyer situation, that feels like a game changer.
Yeah, it's a big shift for sure. The company, they basically said two things are pushing them to this point. One, inflation's hitting everyone hard, their business included.
Right.
And two, their efforts to develop pharmaceuticals, it's not going as smoothly as they'd hoped. That's an interesting tidbit because it shows they weren't just about ancestry reports and telling you what you might be allergic to. They saw our DNA as a gold mine for discovering new drugs. Big money potential there.
Which just adds a whole other dimension to this whole data security and privacy question, doesn't it? It wasn't just about satisfying our curiosity, it was about potentially making a profit from our genes. Now, with this bankruptcy and a sale looming, the million-dollar question is, who ends up controlling all this data?
Exactly, and we're already seeing the fallout.
Yeah.
The minute the bankruptcy hit the news on March 24th, that Monday,
Yeah.
people rushed to delete their accounts and data.
Yeah.
Reports are saying it's been a madhouse online.
Sounds like a digital stampede to the exit.
Yeah.
And from what we're hearing, not everyone's having an easy time getting out.
Nope. Lots of folks are talking about delays, error messages, having to try over and over to delete their stuff.
Oh.
There's a real lack of confidence that the requests are even going through properly. You're left hanging.
Yeah, I can see why people are freaking out. We've got some real-life examples that highlight just how worried people are. We talked to Ted Widener over in Indiana. For him, it's all about privacy. He's scared of what happens to his data if 23andMe gets sold. He managed to put in the request to delete his stuff, but he's still waiting for confirmation. That need for confirmation says a lot, don't you think?
Absolutely. It's like when it's your DNA, you need more than just, yeah, we got it. You need to know for sure it's gone.
Exactly.
And then there's this other guy, Don Bieber from New York. He told us he spent 3 hours trying to delete his data and his adult children's data. He'd been their legal guardian, so he set up their accounts.
Wow.
His concerns are, well, understandable, right? Who's going to have access after this sale, and what happens to that data when he's gone? He's thinking about his family long term. 3 hours, though, just fighting error messages. It makes you feel powerless, trapped.
No kidding. It's not just dilution either. Lucia McIntosh, she wanted to download her genetic info before wiping her account. Hit an error message there, too. Sounds like their system just wasn't ready for this mass exodus.
Totally overwhelmed. And it's more than just deleting and downloading, People with forgotten passwords, accounts linked to spam folders, they're stuck waiting forever for customer service.
It's a mess.
It's like everyone's scrambling to take back control. And this urge to grab the reins, it makes sense, especially since this isn't the first time 23andMe's had data security issues. Remember that big password hack back in 2023?
Yeah, 6.9 million people affected.
Massive. That event probably put everyone on high alert about their genetic data's security.
For sure. That breach probably shook people's trust in 23andMe's ability to protect their information. So this bankruptcy news, it's like pouring gasoline on an already smoldering fire. People are jumping ship.
Exactly. It's accelerated the delete everything impulse for sure.
Yeah.
So 23andMe, they put out this open letter trying to calm everyone down, right?
Yeah, they're saying, hey, even if we get sold, our current privacy policy is still in effect. The one that promises to keep your data away from employers, insurance companies, the cops, everyone. That sounds good, right?
On the surface, yeah, it seems reassuring, but you got to dig a little deeper. They're also pointing out that because everyone agreed to that privacy policy when they signed up, It's not covered by HIPAA.
Right.
That's the big federal law that protects your health info in the hands of doctors and insurance companies.
Oh, right.
Instead, they're saying state laws in Illinois and California will be the rule book after a sale.
So no federal protection, just their own terms of service and maybe some state laws. Feels kind of flimsy, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't quite inspire the same confidence, does it?
No.
And here's the real kicker, and Sarah Girk, she's a legal expert, she pointed this out.
Mm-hmm.
The new owner, whoever they are, they could just change the privacy policy.
Really?
Sure, users would probably have to agree to those changes, but let's be real, who actually reads those mile-long terms of service? Most folks just click agree and move on. That's a big takeaway here. Your protections today, they might not mean much tomorrow.
It all depends on who buys the company.
Exactly. And Anya Prince, a law professor at University of Iowa, she pointed out that most privacy policies have language that lets them tweak things over time. So even though the current policy might seem okay, it's not a guarantee for the future.
So it's like a temporary comfort blanket?
Pretty much. And that's why consumer advocates and state attorneys general are so worried. Rob Bonta in California and Letitia James in New York, they're both saying, hey, you need to seriously think about protecting your data.
Makes sense. And Bonta specifically mentioned that health and life insurance companies might be interested in buying this data. That's kind of scary, isn't it?
Oh yeah, big time. It makes you wonder about discrimination. How this info could be used against you down the line.
Yeah, for sure. We do have GINA, though, the Genetic Information Non-Discrimination Act.
Right.
That offers some federal protection against employers and health insurers using your genes against you.
True, GINA's there, but like Anya Prince highlighted, it's not perfect, and there's a huge loophole. It doesn't apply to life insurance.
Oh, wow.
So you could be left vulnerable there.
So even with some legal safeguards, they're not foolproof, especially when it comes to life insurance. And the bottom line is we're just in the dark. We don't know what the new owner will do, how they'll handle this incredibly personal data. They might do things the same way, or they could have a totally different agenda. That's what's making everyone so anxious.
Yeah, it all boils down to that uncertainty, not knowing what the future holds for your data once this new owner takes over.
So let's get practical here. If someone's listening and thinking, okay, I need to get my data out of there, what should they do? What are the steps to delete their 23andMe account and information?
All right, well, the good news is 23andMe does have a deletion process. Rob Bonta, the California Attorney General, and NPR, they've both laid out how to do it. Step 1, log into your account on their website.
Okay, log in. Got it. What's next?
Once you're in, you got to find this settings section of your profile. It's usually tucked away in a menu near your account name or something like
Your
that.
settings, check. And then
You got to scroll down probably to the bottom of the page so you see 23andMe data.
23andMe data at the bottom. Okay.
Next to that, there should be a button or a link that says View. Click that and you'll be taken to a page where you can manage all your genetic information.
Quick view. Got it. What's the next move?
Here's a crucial step. If you want to keep a copy of your data, before you delete anything, there should be an option to download your raw genetic data. If you want a personal backup, now's the time to do it.
Download first if you want it. Makes sense. And then we get to the actual deleting part, right?
Yep. After you've downloaded your stuff, you got to scroll down that page again till you find a section that specifically says delete data.
Delete data. Hopefully that's easy to spot.
Then, here it comes. You click the button or link that says permanently delete data. That kicks off the process of erasing your genetic info and your account.
Permanently delete data. That sounds pretty final.
It should be, yeah, but it's not instant. Usually after you hit that button, 23andMe sends you an email.
Oh!
You got to open that email and click the confirmation link to finalize everything. This step's super important, so check your inbox and your spam folder just in case.
So it's not just clicking a button on the website. You got to confirm through your email, too. Good to know. What about the actual saliva sample they might still have?
You can deal with that separately. In your account settings, look for preferences. There should be an option to have them toss out your saliva sample. It's worth noting that's a whole separate request from deleting your digital data.
So you got to do two things. Delete the digital stuff and request the sample be destroyed. Good to clarify that. And what about if someone agreed to let their data be used for research? Does deleting their account automatically stop that?
Not always. You usually got to withdraw your research consent separately. That option's in your settings too, usually under something like research and product consents. That's where you go to fully opt out of research.
So 3 separate steps to regain control. Got it. Delete the data, ask for your sample to be destroyed, and withdraw research consent.
Exactly.
And Bonta did mention that the 23andMe website might be a bit slow or glitchy right now with everyone trying to do this at once.
Yeah, probably slammed. Patience is key. Just keep trying and make sure you do all those confirmation steps, especially the email one.
This whole 23andMe thing, it's like a wake-up call, isn't it? It makes you think about giving your DNA to any company, regardless of whether they're going bankrupt or not.
Absolutely. Your DNA, it's like this treasure chest of personal info. We all know it tells you about your ancestry, but it also holds clues about your future health, what diseases you might be prone to. It's deeply personal, and once it's out there, it's hard, maybe impossible, to fully take it back.
And it's not just about ancestry and health, right? There's the whole issue of law enforcement.
Yeah.
23andMe says they need a warrant to access your data, but company policies change, and the idea of your genetic info being used in ways you never imagine, well, it's a legitimate concern.
It is. And while some states have laws to protect your genetic privacy, they're not consistent across the whole country. And even when data is shared for research, 23andMe says it's stripped of identifying info. But still, someone can figure out how to re-identify it. It's a possibility you can't completely ignore.
So, in the end, the big question is, are you okay with your most private biological information being in the hands of some unknown company in the future? A company that might have completely different ideas about privacy than the one you originally chose?
That's the million-dollar question everyone using these services or thinking about using them has to ask themselves. This 23andMe situation shows us that even companies that seem stable can hit a rough patch. And that can have huge consequences for your privacy and your data.
So just to sum it all up, 23andMe's bankruptcy, it's thrown a big question mark over your genetic data if you're one of their customers. They say their privacy policies protect you, but those policies aren't set in stone, could change with a new owner. Lots of folks are trying to delete their data right now, and understanding those steps, making sure you do everything right, that's crucial.
It is. Taking control, knowing how to delete your data, manage those consent preferences, even thinking about what happens to your saliva sample, those are the most important things you can do right now.
It really makes you stop and think, your DNA, it's this incredibly powerful information about you, about your past and your future. What steps are you going to take to protect that information in this world of DNA testing services that's changing so fast? It's a question worth pondering before you send off your spit and your genetic secrets.